Welcome to this published author's interview. My name is Kenneth Muyingo, and with me I have a special guest that I'm going to be having an interesting conversation with. First, I just want to mention, if you watch this interview and you would like to write a book to become an author, there is a link with the interview for you to join the group, become an author, and write your first book to connect with like-minded people who are doing the same. And with that said, I would like to get into the interview by asking my guest to say hello to our viewers and to introduce himself.
Everybody, my name is John Wood. I am the author of A Fight to Survive and soon to be published author of Disability Devotionals, A Mother's Love, and two children's books to be published in the near future, Wandering Wheels, some of those books.
Wow.
And I am a 26-year-old author with spina bifida. The type of spina bifida is called myelomeningocele, the most severe type of disability that can ever be produced or whatever. And I'm excited to get into this interview. So
wow.
That's a little bit about me. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, John, for making time for the interview. And you said that the disability is spinal. What is
Spina
it called?
bifida.
Spina bifida.
Yes.
Wow.
Everybody calls it spina bifida, but the L is off of spinal. They call it spina bifida. In the Latin, it's called split spine because it's at L5S1. So the nerve bundles, fiber, everything in the spine is gone after they had to do a back surgery to me. In a sense, I have no feeling from the waist down. I'm in a manual wheelchair for mobility, and there are certain places where I cannot feel. So,
wow.
And on top of that, certain other conditions that are inherited with the disability that I have, severe pernicious anemia, hydrocephalus, and several other causes. But if you didn't notice that, if you don't know me in person, you know that I'm disabled. You wouldn't know that I'm impaired. You wouldn't know that I'm handily able, even though, yes, the term disabled. I look at myself able because I can still do 90% of things that other people can do. I just sitting down in a chair.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing, John. That's very inspiring. And so you have written quite a couple of books. How many books have you published so far?
I've only published one. This is the first book that I published.
And the title is?
The title called A Fight to Survive.
A Fight to Survive. Wow.
Yeah. Because in a sense, I am fighting to survive. I have fought to survive numerous attempts to disable me, to kill me.
Yeah.
I fought off a kidney infection in 2018. It took basically 5 months to get rid of. And I was a day short from death. I have had major brain surgery. I've had several runs of the tube in my head to correct the aforementioned hydrocephalus. Doctors are actually astonished as to how I've lived 26 years. I was supposed to live 2 hours and die.
Wow.
Yeah, correctly, yes. I am a wheeling miracle, and as I said, doctors are still astonished as to how I'm still today. Because they said, yes, I even talk about it in my book. I was 2 short hours away from death. Wow. I was clinging to life, basically. I was there. As I'm writing this book, I'm thinking, wow, I'm alive to write this book. I didn't think I was going to publish this book. I wouldn't even be alive to publish this book. I am today, ready to inspire others to go the extra mile and not be afraid to tell their story.
Wow, that's quite amazing and very inspiring, John. Thank you so much. So this book, A Fight to Survive, tell us about the book. I mean,
Yes.
I have understood the journey that you have been on and the survival and the fight, but I'm thinking there's people who go through similar situations and they don't feel like in the midst of all this that there's a book in them. Tell us what, I mean, what's the vision that you have for the book? Maybe we can start there.
The vision I have for the book is for people to understand that, and this actually is into a quote that I always put, also a YouTuber, and the main that I talk about, which is my vlogging channel. I talk about my life, and the quote actually that I came up with it goes along with this question. Everybody has a situation that they go through,
Yeah.
and it's up to them to know how they're going to get out of that situation. And I came up with the quote, situation may be hard, but there's always someone like me ready to lift you up again. Because as a person with a disability, I have other people with these that are going through the same or similar situation that I'm going through or that I've gone through. And I look at it, I'm there to lift them up and be there for them when they're going through that, trouble, when they're going through temptation, because I've been through it, know what happens, and I can be there to be an uplifter. I call it a disability, so to speak.
Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing. And indeed, it's true that the best way to reach out to someone is if you have been through what they're going through. And I think
Yes.
The way I look at it is I say that experience is not just what happens to us, but what we choose to do with our experience. Rather, not to,
Exactly.
so I tell myself, don't let your pain be wasted. Use it to help other people. And I think you are doing that in a very powerful way. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
What inspired you to write the book?
What the inspiration that came behind this first book was that I believe in my own way I have a story that needs to be told. And the only person that can tell my story is me. I'm not going to hire a ghostwriter to say, hey, this is my story, I want you to write it for me. I'm experiencing it. So I put the tasks together to write the book. I didn't think it was going to be as profound as it is today. What started out as a 10-chapter manuscript that was on a tiny little thumb drive that I 2 months after I wrote it turned into a now 22-chapter inspirational book to those who, as I said earlier, are going through a situation and need somebody to be there to lift them up. And the motivation, the main person that motivated the book in the way it is today was my mother. Was a very inspirational part of my life, even though we sometimes did not see eye to eye. I still thank her for that opportunity. The only drawback, though, is that I didn't publish the book until March. So that was the main drawback. The one thing that I did tell her, even as she was passing away, was, "This book is for you.
Wow.
I don't be able to write it if I didn't experience what I did with you."
Yeah.
So if all that hadn't happened, I would have still wrote the book. I would have said it as it is today. And if I hadn't gone through that experience of losing her, I wouldn't have been able to come up with the book that on her behalf in her memory.
Wow. That's very powerful. Thank you so much. And so the journey that you were on and the experiences that you shared and everything you've been through, and then you get the idea to say, yeah, I'm going to write a book. Was it like a clear decision about, for example, the topic, or was there sort of a journey that you had to go through to choose the topic for the book?
That's actually a double-edged sword question, because I'd already, when I started writing the book, I wrote it in the perspective of from the moment I was born until I stopped the book back in December of 2019.
Yeah.
I started reading it after I'd gone through of my life with the infection that I underwent and had to fight through. And I figured at the end that was it. That was the end of the book. I wasn't going to be around it again. I wasn't going to be able to anymore to add to it. So I stopped it at 2 chapters, and I stopped it. Basically, I open-ended it and left it in sort of what you call a cliffhanger.
Wow.
And that entails into book 2 that I'm writing on it, from the perspective of I fought this off. I'm ready. Let's go. My fight.
Wow. This is quite powerful, John. Thank you so much. It's maybe I have a bonus question here. If somebody is watching this interview and they feel like sort of life has given them an unfair hand, or that they're going through a tough time and they feel like giving up, what would you tell them if they're listening to you right now?
This is exactly what I was trained to do. This is exactly what I have gone through to be able to answer this question. You're handed, say, a bag of sour lemons. What are you going to do? You're going to run with them, or are you going to make lemonade best of it? I say you've been given in the sense of, if you've been the best out of a bad situation, or that you can't understand, or has been taken out of your life for a reason, and you need to fight to either remember that person or forget them altogether. But I look at it like this: we all have a journey. We all have, what we're going through, and if you're having that, why am I going through this? These words: your situation is hard, but there's always someone like me ready to pick you up again. There's always somebody around that's going to be able to help you through that. You don't know who that is until you seek that person out.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Thank you so much. It's
Thank you.
This is very inspiring, and this is one of the reasons that I decide to do these interviews, because I get so much value from them, but I know that also the people that watch them benefit from them greatly. And so when you finish to write this first book, and now you said there is another book, we'll get into that, but do you consider yourself as a naturally talented writer, or would you say that writing is a skill that you have developed over time?
I would consider myself a natural writer, because I have moments where I can sit down in front of the computer or in front of my tab, just a blank piece of paper, an idea in there, and just say, I'm going to put it down. And I'll say, like, even take the first book, for instance. I wanted to stop at 10 chapters, and I kept writing because I sleep one night. If I have it in my mind that I want to write down, I will not stop writing until either that idea is out of my mind and on paper, or it's gone completely. Because I've had moments like that where I'll have an idea 1 second and I go to write and it's gone. So I would consider myself, yes, a natural talented writer.
Wow, amazing. And you have shared quite a lot about the journey that you have been through, and the surgeries, and the disability, and the death of your mother. I'm curious, what would you tell me is the one thing that has had the greatest impact on you personally in that has inspired you to write books?
I would say the one thing that's happened personally is not one certain thing. It's every single thing that has led up to the moment where I have written the book.
I see.
Because each thing in my life has happened for a reason,
Yeah.
and it's happened for a purpose. But I would say really the one thing that's out of me to be able to complete this book was going through the experience of knowing that I've made it out of these certain circumstances, and that
Yeah.
I'm able to continue to experience life and inspire others to continue it.
Wow, that's amazing. And so you mentioned some of the books that you are working on, a sequel for the first one. Are you currently working on any other books?
I'm in the works of continuing the book about. I'm doing a chronicalizing of her life. She passed to the moment. I'm still working on that. It's going to take a long time because I'm
Yeah.
still trying to about her. Other than that, I'm working on the editing for my 2 children's books that are based off of. They're basically off of disability. I call them because the first chapter or the first book, there's a character loosely based off of myself who has disability yet and goes to his other abilities, and these guys come together and they are friends and they're trying to tell their stories, essentially the small school that they're living in.
Yeah.
Other than that, a religious book that I've already getting published as we speak. I've sent off to my publisher, and that's called Ability Devotionals. It's a chapter book about basically continuing your in a sense continuing your fight, and it's through the religious standpoints
I see. Wow.
of what I believe in. And
Very nice. Very nice. And where can people buy your books? So the one that you published and the ones that are coming, where can people buy them?
actually a question, because the publisher that I'm working with currently is not a brick and mortar publisher that shipment and whatnot. But if you want a copy of this first book, all you have to do is contact, which I can give you that in a minute.
Yeah.
You can contact social media or emailing me at my author email survive copy, and that's how you can handle getting a book directly from me. It will come. I'll order it directly from my publisher. It'll come to me. I'll automatically inscribe it and I'll mail it to you.
Very nice. Very nice. And if somebody is watching this interview and they would like to connect with you, John, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
You can several ways. As I said, you can contact me by going to you could type in author on wheels, that author page. You can contact me there. You can contact me through my email, my person or my author email. You can contact me through there. You can contact going onto my website, which is on 18941 Wix. It's a Wix site.
Yeah.
With my author website, I go back and leave me a message on there. I can get back to that very immediately. Other than that, email and Facebook are the only ways.
Very nice. We will put the links with the interview so that people can contact you and buy the book. And
Yes, sir.
This was very inspiring, John. Thank you so much for making time for it. Before we finish the interview, is there something else that you would like to share that I was not able to address in the interview?
The only thing that I could say is, based off of everything that has been said today and the feed interview we'll probably receive, as I said a minute ago, if you're having trouble finding your in life, find a way certain struggles, let me leave you once again with this quote. Situation may be hard, but there's always someone ready to lift you up again. We all go through certain situations, we all do things for a reason, and it's up to us to find out our purposes in life and what is going to start me through our life. Because we all have a journey that we're going on. Mine's journey just has inspiration to others. As I've said, that this book is an extension of me personally, because we're all going through something. All need somebody who's going to help us through that is what I would end this interview by saying.
Wow, thank you so much, John. This was very inspiring and very uplifting. I'm so glad that we were able to make time for this. And I will be keeping in touch with you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.